I'm Laura Swanson with the Tillamook County Pioneer, and today we're chatting with Virginia Carol Prowl, the author of Memory Tracks. This is her book, The Diary of a Depot, that tells the story from the perspective of the building of the Rockaway Beach train depot. Now, Virginia, why don't you give us, introduce yourself, and then just give us a little background on why you decided to write this book.
Well, my husband and I moved out of the house. We had remodeled the house while we were there several times.
And how many years were you there?
We were there for 29 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always thinking of another way to remodel a house. And we did. So we moved out. I went by the house one day, and here they are tearing it all apart, remodeling it again. And I told my husband, my golly, I said, those walls could tell us a real story. Well, at the time I was going to a college class to write my memoirs.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, maybe I'll just write about that. Mm-hmm. So I just started writing about it, and I got to thinking, well, the building should tell the story, not me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I wrote it in the voice of the building.
And that's why so many people have really taken to the story, because it is told in the third person from the perspective of the building.
Yeah.
So so 29 years. So the building was built in 1910. When did you move in?
1951.
1951. And raised your family?
Yes, I had 3 children when I moved in. There were 2, 3, and 4. And in 1955, I had another one.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got real involved in the city.
So tell us about that.
Well, first of all, I got involved with PTA, naturally, with my children going to school.
Mm-hmm.
I got very active in that. And I did, when I was on the city council of Rockaway
Mm-hmm.
for a few years. And I just seemed like I just did everything around the city. I really loved Rockaway.
So while you were living at the depot, what did you do for work? So
Well, in 1959, my husband was working at the sawmill in Tillamook,
Mm-hmm.
and they went on strike.
Oh.
And so they were on strike for quite a while, and I said, somebody's got to earn some money around here. And I had a neighbor who was the head nurse at the hospital in Wheeler.
Mm-hmm.
So I went over and I says, Mrs. Smith, I heard that maybe you could use some help at the hospital. Well, you bet. She says, you get yourself a white dress and white shoes and come to work. So I did.
Uh-huh.
I went to work as a nurse's aide.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked there as a nurse's aide for, I don't know, not even a year. And I worked a 3 to 11 shift, and where you rub the backs of
Mm-hmm.
people. And one day the head nurse came to me and asked me, Virginia, she says, I get a lot of compliments about your back rubs. She said, would you be interested in learning physical therapy? I said, oh, yeah, I would. So she said, well, I'm going to have you work with a physical therapist. So I went to work with a physical therapist at the hospital, who were not registered therapists.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a man who was a registered therapist that worked at the clinic, and he'd come up once a week and instruct us on things.
Mm-hmm.
And after a few months, he asked the head nurse if she wouldn't mind if he took her away from me if I went down to work at the clinic. So I went down and worked at the clinic, and I became an assistant physical therapist.
You became a physical therapist. Obviously, your husband went back to work,
Oh, yes.
but then you stayed at the clinic.
Yeah.
So how many years were you there?
I was there for 20 years, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably been there longer, but one morning things were getting slow, and so I worked at the clinic in the mornings,
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd go up to the hospital to work in the afternoons. And it was in the winter time, just before Christmas. And it was snowing and ice, but down by the river, it all had thawed out. When we went up to the hospital, it was still icy up there, and I didn't realize it. And I went in the back door, and my feet went out from under me, and I fell and broke my leg.
Mm-hmm.
That ended my career.
Yeah, and the story in the book tells all about that. And it was an interesting Christmas around your household for that time, because I think you were in the hospital, weren't you, for quite a while with it? Mm-hmm. Yep. So you and I became connected because you started sending me some poems.
Yeah.
And I said, anytime send me a poem, we love to have poetry on the Pioneer. So I was getting poems from you regularly. So now tell me how that got started with the poems.
Well, after I married my second husband, my first husband died in 1988. And in 1991, I married Clifford Prowl. And I wrote a little poem for him, a little love poem. Mm-hmm. And I just started writing little poems. Pardon me. And we went south in the winter, and I wrote some more poems. I don't know why, I just felt like it, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Then when I came home, I joined this group called the sorority. I belonged to Beta Sigma Phi. Mm-hmm. And I wrote a poem for him. And the president at the time said, Virginia, I think you should write a poem every month for our newsletter. Oh. So I guess I took it as an assignment to start writing a poem every month.
So right around 1991 or 92 is when the poem a month started then?
Well, probably about 94.
Okay. Okay. So this has been going on for, that would be about 30 years now? That you've been writing that many poems that regularly? Well, it's the discipline part of it, because as a writer, to have that kind of discipline, to write a poem.
Yeah, and I write about things that I see, and how I feel about things, and I also I belong to a writing group, and I would read my poems at the writing group, and they would critique them, and I had a couple of girls that were writers, really good poets, and they gave me a lot of good critiques, which has helped me. So.
Right. Yeah. Now, do you still do the writing group, or not so much anymore?
Well, the writing group, they all got too old.
Well, and that brings up the question, which I know you never ask a lady her age, but how old are you, Virginia?
I'm 94.
You're 94.
I'll be 95 in March.
95 in March. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's something to be very proud of.
Well, I always said I wanted to live to be 100 because I had a grandfather who lived to be 102.
Oh, the longevity's in the family then. That's good. So back to the memory tracks. So you wrote that in the 90s, and then a second edition came out in 2007. So how many did you publish originally?
500.
And with the first run, and then the second run?
The second one was 500.
Was 500?
I think I was only about 100 or 200. I can't remember.
Yeah, but so everyone knows the Memory Tracks is now always available on the Tillamook Pioneer.
Yeah.
So we have chapter by chapter the Memory Tracks on the Tillamook County Pioneer by Virginia Carol Prowl.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, thank you.